bringing us a new attitude is the new member of our triumvirate. In education here in Mississippi, we have our IHL system, Dr. Hank Bounds. Hank, you're here somewhere. We'll give a wave to everybody, Hank. Let's give Hank a round of applause. Hank Bounds, Commissioner of Higher Education. We have Dr. Eric Clark. I think Eric was sitting right there a minute ago. Dr. Eric Clark, he might have just stepped out. Let's give Eric a round of applause, and we'll tell him we cheered for him, who runs our community and junior college system. And we have our Superintendent of State Education. But we've had an interim in that role for quite a while and did an admirable job and kept the lights on, the doors open, and everything moving smoothly. But you see, it takes more than that to get progress going. You need someone who's willing to stand up and speak out from the beginning on subjects that are important, like the importance of Common Core. Our MEC board just named Common Core as one of our priority issues this year. We cannot turn away from Common Core implementation in Mississippi. Our superintendent has spoken out strongly on that, and I will tell you, MEC will continue to speak out strongly on that. Some say, thank you. When Severstal or Toyota or Nissan or Yokohama are looking to locate a plant in America, they are looking at statistics nationally. They don't want to say, well, now we have this standard in New York, this standard in Delaware, this standard in California, and oh, well, trust us, this is the standard in Mississippi, and we're doing just fine. They want to be able to compare and contrast how we perform. And we've already proven that with tough standards, our kids can learn and perform. With the tough accountability model that was put in place 4 years ago, and I want to tell you, MEC played a key role in that. Our first 4 years of improvement now mirror the first 4 years of improvement that Florida saw when they introduced a very similar model. The difference is they're 14 years into their implementation, and we're 4 years. But our first 4 years, the trajectory is the same as Florida's. Florida moved from fourth from the bottom to now fourth from the top in 14 years. Mississippi can do it too. It just takes focusing and getting it done. Common Core helps put oil on those wheels, grease on the program, and will help deliver it. And to help deliver that message and others is someone who's willing to take on tough issues. She served in the Washington, D.C. school system. She served in suburban Maryland school districts. Some of those districts are as big as our statewide system. She's tough. She's focused. She's willing to take a stand from the get-go, not sit back and say, well, let's just see how the political winds are blowing. It's that kind of leader that teamed with Dr. Hank Bounds, Dr. Eric Clark, people who are exceptional leaders in education. Mississippi can seize the day and put ourselves in the greatest opportunity. Please join me in welcoming our new Superintendent of Education, Dr. Carey Wright.
Thank you, Blake, for the wonderful introduction, and distinguished guests. It is an absolute delight to be here today. I thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege to spend some time talking with you about education, and I'm going to focus on the transformational impact that I believe that this could have on this state and on this business community. I want to focus my comments on 3 areas that I believe can make a difference in the state's economic future: early childhood education, higher academic standards, and enhanced career and technical education. When I applied to become state superintendent, I did so after much thought and research. I knew the numbers. The 2013 Quality Counts report, issued by the Education Week publication annually, placed Mississippi 4th from the bottom when it comes to K-12 achievement. The 2014 report is going to be released tomorrow. But there were other statistics that told of Mississippi's educational story. 47% of our 3rd graders are not reading on grade level on our own state assessments. According to the 2013 National Assessment on Education Progress, commonly referred to as the NAEP report, 18% of our 4th graders and 19% of our 8th graders were proficient in reading, and 24% of our 4th graders and 18% of our 8th graders were proficient in math. When I looked at the ACT results from 2013, it indicated that only 12% of our high school graduates were considered college ready on all 4 tested subject areas, whereas the national average was 25%. And alarming to me as well, when I looked at the 2013 Mississippi Kids Count report, our parents and students were spending $35.5 million on college remedial classes that do not count for credit. I cite these statistics to not point fingers. The data are what the data are, and I'm a firm believer in transparency. We need to be honest and open about where we are in educating our children, because only then can we begin to improve our public school system and rewrite our story. I'm entering my 2nd month as state superintendent, and what I've been saying to local superintendents around the state is that I'm honest to a fault. So if you want to know what I'm thinking, simply ask me, and I'll be happy to tell you what's on my mind. But when the conversation turns to early childhood education, what you will soon learn is that I am committed to making high-quality early childhood education programs more accessible to all children across the state. If we expect our children to read on grade level by the end of grade 3, which we should, we need to ensure that they've got the foundational skills necessary for success in kindergarten and beyond. High-quality early childhood programs prepare children not just academically, but socially and emotionally as well. I'm pleased to know that MEC supports strong early childhood educational programs, and I look forward to finding ways to increase access to high-quality programs. In recent weeks, I've traveled the state meeting with school district superintendents and local officials, and one of the questions I heard most frequently was, what are your plans to address educating children in poverty? I know that 71% of students in this state receive free or reduced lunch. I was the chief academic officer in the DC public school system, where students mirrored the poverty rates in Mississippi. My experience there showed me achievement at higher levels, even amongst the poorest students, is possible. Results from the National Assessments of Student Performance bear this out. In 2011, DC students improved in 4th and 8th grade math and reading on NAEP. And the growth that DC saw in 2013 was 3 to 7 times greater than the national growth. DC students also showed the greatest growth of any urban district in the nation on the 2013 trial urban district assessments. These were the highest scores that DC has ever seen. It's possible. Raising student achievement is more than just discussing test scores. It's about providing our students the knowledge and skills to be successful in the workplace and to build Mississippi's economy. Improving education is an economic driver. Last November, the Fitch Credit Rating Agency announced it was downgrading Mississippi's bond rating outlook from stable to negative. The main reason that was cited was the state's socioeconomic profile as being relatively weak, but with wealth and educational attainment indicators significantly lagging the nation. Poverty and low education levels not only impact a person's quality of life, they have a negative impact on the financial outcome or outlook of our state government. We must set high standards for our children. We must find ways to help children that lag behind their peers, as well as encouraging those who are excelling academically to achieve at even higher levels. And we must fund public education at a level that can accomplish those high expectations. The 2013 quality report gave Mississippi an F on spending. However, I'm also going to go further. Money isn't the sole answer for improving education. Our neighbor to the north, Tennessee, used the collective will of that state to focus on student achievement, and it's starting to pay off. This year's NAEP results showed that Tennessee was the fastest improving state in the nation in educational gains. Those results were contributed to several factors, but focusing efforts on student growth and achievement played a continual role. I have no doubt, based on my interactions with Governor Bryant, Lieutenant Governor Reeves, and Speaker Gunn, that we too will forge this working relationship to move the state forward. One initiative that Mississippi and Tennessee have in common is the implementation of Common Core state standards. Tennessee has aggressively implemented these higher standards, and their student achievement is improving as a result. I am committed to continuing implementation of these standards, and let me emphasize, the Mississippi Board of Education adopted standards, not a curriculum. There is a difference. Standards simply set targets for what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. A curriculum is developed by local school districts, and they develop things such as teaching strategies, lessons, and materials. Neither the state nor especially the federal government controls that. But let me give you a business example. Standards would be like a sales goal for your company. You're a CEO. You tell your company and your employees that they need to reach a specific goal by the year's end. That's the standard that you set. The curriculum would be, what sales strategies do they employ? How often do they meet with their clients? What kind of materials are they giving their clients? That's the employee's decision. I have said repeatedly across the state, and I will say it to you, I fully support Common Core state standards. They are very rigorous, and they will prepare students and your future employees. You need employees who can think critically, solve problems, work in teams, and communicate well. That's what you do each day. And that's what the Common Core is designed to help our students do. In fact, Rex Tillerson, Chairman and CEO of ExxonMobil Corporation, recently put into perspective his support for Common Core. He spoke at the 2013 National Summit on Education Reform in October, and he said that the business community should be concerned about higher standards because you are the customers of our educational system. He also said that if he's looking for talent, why wouldn't he look at a state that's using Common Core to measure what students know and can do? He's confident that if students perform well under such high standards, then that's the kind of employee he wants. And I urge you to join me in supporting these standards. I've seen what can happen when states make education a priority. I have seen the governors of Virginia and Maryland battle over businesses and industries coming to their states, and then companies making those decisions because the quality of the educational system was never in question. Both of those states have high academic achievement. I want Mississippi to be in that enviable position. And when I talk about Common Core, I want to stress that these standards help prepare students for college and careers. I'm aware that not every student chooses to pursue a 2- or 4-year institution, and that should be a student's choice. An academically strong career and technical education can have a dramatic impact on students and the Mississippi economy. By collaborating with business and industry, we can ensure that K-12 education aligns to workforce needs and prepares students through rigorous academic programs for a viable career. I am an optimist, and I make no apologies for it. I believe in my heart of hearts we have an opportunity to change the trajectory of this state if we're willing to do the hard work, to collaborate, to innovate, and to make decisions in the best interest of all children. And I want to close with one of my favorite quotes from President Theodore Roosevelt. It's commonly titled, "The Man in the Arena." It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who actually strives to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Please join me in Mississippi's educational arena as we dare greatly on behalf of the students of our great state. We can do this.
We have a lot of interest dealing with education. We support the appointment of superintendents. We believe in Common Core. We think standards are important, so when we're trying to attract businesses to the state, they know how to compare our education system with others. So that's very important. We believe also we need to look at more infrastructure investment, our transportation, water and sewer. We want to work with them on how to address those issues. Technology investments, economic competitiveness, and also workforce, which is an offset of education. So we have a lot of issues that are important to our members, and we're going to work with the legislature to see that they're addressed.
But there's one thing I want to share with y'all real quick. Those of you who were at Hobnob probably realized that he was absent. He was not there that day. Well, that's because he takes responsibility seriously as well. In fact, he was on a special deployment for the Mississippi Air National Guard, and that's why he couldn't be with us. But he's here today, and please join me in welcoming him and thanking him for his service to our country.
Well, it's great to be with you today and to be here at Capitol Day with MEC. And Blake, I think back to about 2002, 2003 was the first MEC event I attended representing the manufacturer I was working for at the time as we worked on the initial blueprint. Gosh, what a way this organization has come. And as a father, I want to say thank you because the future you've given my children, your children and grandchildren, the employees that work with you and the jobs you've created, wow. This is a great example of public-private partnership working. And how many times have we said, you know, government doesn't create jobs. It's this room full of folks. And we want to say thank you. Now, Lynn, you talked about giving away taxpayer dollars. I hate to break it to you, sweetheart, but as state auditor, I see folks giving away our tax dollars every day. We get to hold them accountable, Scott. And the other thing is, I thought as Delbert was talking, anytime a lawyer walks in a room wearing a three-piece pinstripe suit, I get nervous. But aren't y'all glad we got Delbert? So, Delbert, thank you, sir. Lynn, it's an honor working with you guys, Mike Chaney, Cindy Hyde-Smith, the rest of our statewide elected officials, and our district folks day in and day out working for you. And it's a privilege, and every single one of us understand who our bosses are. And it's not us. It's not our employees, it's you, the taxpayers of Mississippi, and MEC helps cast that vision. Now, a lot of times, some of you have heard me talk and share about the job we do as state auditor. We talk about the audit, what we do. We just issued the comprehensive annual financial report of the state of Mississippi, and folks get so excited. I know you don't, but our bond rating gets affected by those things. It's important. And for over 25 years, Mississippi has received an excellence award from the Government Financial Officers Association for our comprehensive annual financial report. So it's a job that we've done year in, year out, consistently doing what mom and dad taught us to do in Sunday school when it comes to accountability and doing the right thing. And we want to make sure we're standing firm on that legacy and that foundation as we continue to move Mississippi forward. But let me share with you very briefly 3 key things that you're going to be seeing coming out of the auditor's office that aren't necessarily putting the individuals who have given away our money or stolen or embezzled, my favorite term, misappropriated. What the heck does that mean? You know, I just can't put them in jail for it, but we know they took it. You know, we all see that. We see the headlines of the convictions, the indictments. But there are 3 things that impact this community and the financial health and welfare of our state moving forward you're going to see coming out of the office. And I've always heard there are 3 key things that every Mississippian, really every American's looking for: health care, job creation, and education. Well, let me share with you a little bit of what we're doing in those areas. Last year, we got a lot of headlines, what we do in education, Dr. Wright, when it comes to our MSIS audits, where we're in those school districts and we're looking at the MAP funding formula. And last year, as we worked through that, we discovered, just like Common Core state standards showed, there wasn't a standard definition of the success and measurement from state to state. And what we discovered in Mississippi, we didn't have a standard definition of an average daily attendance. So what was happening in Jones County, where I live, versus what's happening in Rankin, Madison, Hines, where we are today, may be different. And it wasn't the same across the state. And that impacts funding and equity and all of these factors. And the legislature took action last year, and we have now a standard definition across Mississippi to incentivize those school districts to keep those kids in school learning so they have the opportunity to perform and have a better and brighter future. That was step one. And this year we will continue through that MSIS process, validating our test scores so that when we hear statistics from NAEP and elsewhere and our state standardized tests that are involved with Common Core standards, we know and trust that those numbers are accurate, that they're real, and they're firm. And as your state auditor, my job is to partner with our education community across Mississippi so we have confidence in our local school districts, and we're going to continue doing that day in and day out and year out. Education. It's important that we trust the numbers and we know what we're getting. But the other aspect is job creation. Now, we make a lot of news when we do the major economic development programs across Mississippi from Toyota to Nissan and Irwin Ingalls. Who makes sure that we don't, well, that money is spent the way it was supposed to be spent and the jobs that were promised to be created were created and they're paying what was promised to be paid? That's my job. And we go in with our companies who have partnered with Mississippi and created these jobs, and they open up their books and they open up their human resource offices and say, come in and let us show and let the taxpayers of Mississippi have confidence that these economic development programs are good, are solid, and need to continue. Because we never want to lose the trust of the taxpayers of the state of Mississippi when it comes to these programs. But what we have discovered is there are over a dozen bond and economic incentive programs based on state monies that are not necessarily audited. And we want to make sure that the legislature addresses that this year, that just like the major economic programs, our small and local incentive programs are also audited so that at the end of the day, the legislature, our business community, and the taxpayers of Mississippi have full confidence that companies that receive the support, the input, the resources of our state government are doing and holding up their end of the bargain. You know, we joke in the auditor's office, when I got sworn into the state senate in 2004, we started cleaning up the beef plant mess. And then I got sworn in as state auditor, and we're still cleaning up the beef plant mess. We're going to be announcing in a couple of weeks that we've got another check back as we continue to get money. And here I'm in my second term, still cleaning up the beef plant mess. MEC, the legislature, the auditor's office are making sure that never happens again and that the public will have trust and confidence in how we spend their money in creating jobs and creating opportunities and an environment that businesses can grow, businesses can expand, and Mississippians have a better and brighter future. And as your state auditor, I pledge to protect that part of our business environment in Mississippi. Healthcare is the last pillar of economic development. Companies are looking to their local communities and the quality of life, the standard of living their employees are going to be asked when they ask and hire folks from outside of Mississippi and they move in. Health care and access, availability, and quality are the questions they're asking. In February, we're going to release a report that looks at all of our community-owned hospitals. Now, let me be very clear. What makes a small, rural, community-owned hospital? Most of our counties, like mine in Jones County, we actually own the hospital. How really financially healthy are those hospitals across Mississippi? Well, we have done the research, we've done the work, not only using national standards and rankings, but also the local financial, and we'll be able to give you a listing of not only our green light hospitals that are financially healthy and successful and have a bright future, but we're also going to let the state know which of our local community-owned hospitals are at risk or in danger. And as your state auditor, we think our local governments who are responsible for those hospitals deserve to know what they're dealing with and what their options are. I'll share you one personal story on that front and why this is important, because it's not just economic development, but it's a quality of life, and health care access is critical. And our family learned that very real about this time last year. See, my father had a massive stroke that left him totally paralyzed. Couldn't speak, couldn't eat for days. We weren't sure what the outcome would be. But I tell everybody, I actually saved his life because I was out of town. He had my boys, and they had a basketball game that night, and they wanted to go to the local restaurant with the rest of the team after the game, which was only 3 blocks from the hospital. But like a lot of Mississippians, if he'd gotten in the car and gone home, he would have been about 30 minutes out in the countryside at our family farm. And if the stroke had happened at that point, I know my father, like so many other independent, strong-willed working men in Mississippi, he would have told my mother, I'm going to go to bed. If I don't feel better in the morning, we'll go to the hospital then. He may not have made it. Access to hospitals and health care are critical across the state of Mississippi, and if we allow that to falter, where Mississippians don't have health care within 20, 30 minutes, they may not go the 45 minutes or an hour to get to health care that they need. And if that had been in my father's situation, he would not be walking, much less possibly be with us today, because they were able to get that shot in his system within 3 hours of the stroke happening. Today, he's walking and working, and last night, praise God, he was wrapping pipes at the farm. Y'all may wish you would have been at the hotel this morning, weren't you? Great success story of health care in Mississippi, but we've got to make sure we're protecting that. And we're dealing with real numbers and not hyperbole and not just sound bites and what ifs, but real numbers, real facts. Dr. Wright, you mentioned transparency, honesty with ourselves, with one another. Thank y'all for allowing me to serve as your state auditor, to be that voice of fact, that voice of reason, so that we can continue working together from the public and the private sector to move this state forward so that our children, our grandchildren will have that bright, better future that every single one of us desire for them. Thank y'all for being here, investing in your state, and allowing us to serve you. God bless.
This is always the fun day. I mean, when the legislative session gets started and everybody's here the first week, we're all excited. I mean, as it wears on, it gets we'll get into the details of what's going on with legislation. But today is a lot of optimism, and that's what makes today so much fun. And that's one of the reasons CAP Day has always been a great success.
If people have questions like more information about MEC, what should they do?
Two things. They can go to www.mec.ms. Our website has a lot of information on what we do. We really promote our businesses around the state, the great things that are happening around the state, but there's also information on how to be a part of MEC. One of the major initiatives we have is Blueprint Mississippi, which is really the action plan for our state going forward long term on how we're going to improve things. BlueprintMississippi.com is another option. They can go in, sign up to be a stakeholder in one of the areas that we focus on. That's educational achievement, economic competitiveness, resources, and technology. All of those things are so important as we move forward.